Right, here we are in the hold up in a hotel in what appears to be the hub of an objectivist think tank. But I wanted to say something. It's not really fair. I mean, it's not really fair to because I was thinking about. Even like people. I'm to the degree they're fucking feeding the bait. By the way, that's the kind of thing where like you're paranoid, Steve. They're feeding Facebook page. When I say they're feeding them, I'm saying anyone. How do you know that, Steve? You're paranoid, Well, I think they feed them to Chris Matthews. Like, you're paranoid and grandiose. Like, they don't leave an objective reality. Like, but anyone can see a Facebook page if it's public. And if someone's had a 6-year-long giant Facebook page and it landed people like me in a game and like you're in the game and like and I know for a remember I know for a fact what's happening with that technology. That's why I believe in objective reality. That's why I predicted the revolutions in Egypt and Tunisia 2 years before they happened. I didn't know what Middle Eastern countries they were happening. When I saw Facebook, I knew that's what it would be used for. Because I live in objective reality. So yeah, the guy down here in a game, and it's a big deal, and people like me, a handful of people landed in this thing, and I assume the media knows about it, but it's not really fair to like assume that, like, I was saying, well, fuck it, I'm not going to explain what I mean, and like go buy the objectivist epistemology, and like burn in hell. But wait a minute, no, it's not even really fair, because I'm saying, people like Chris Matthews or some shit, they're feeding this to like people that producers there. This is what they're doing in the social media world. That's called grandiose, by the way. Like, the idea that the media is not aware of the, like, Facebook people doing this when it led to a revolution in 2 Middle Eastern countries, and the New York Times, the first postmodern revolutions, the idea that the people doing the activity on Facebook in their 30s, that they're not feeding that to the media. Why? Is the media, what else is the media, like, what do you think people like that are interested in? When Chris Matthews, like, goes home and, like, or shakes beer, and like he's like Woody Allen. He also plays the clarinet in the band or something. No, like, they're into shit like that. So I assume like people. So it's not really fair because they're busy. Like, so they fed these a video of like I don't know. It's not that original to come down and like play right wing guy, but like some older and everything. And maybe look at a couple girls who came down here like this, probably dead. Or they went to their jump room and didn't come back or something, or they came back and slit their wrists because like they weren't like ready for the jump room. But I'm not the only person who tried to pull a Francis Parker. It's just, but here's the point. It's not really fair to not explain. I wasn't going to explain it to you, and you're like, why don't you get out of town, people, and like games, and like, I would explain it to you, go read it, or don't read the book. But no, if like my friends in the media, or like Wes Anderson, or someone who's, actually don't, I read the epistemology, like, because why wouldn't like Wes Anderson or someone like that who saved my life down here or something, or why wouldn't really like anyone in the media or advertising, because if they don't, if they were to feed this to those people and then be like, wait a minute, but they hadn't read the objectivist, but wait a minute, time out, you don't know about objective reality. It was anyone at that level of the society who you call like the Illuminati, like they're lying in coffins and they wear like capes and do rituals. Like, no. It's a certain level of awareness of certain industries. The entire, well, certainly anyone directing films or like doing anything like that or whatever lives in objective reality. They think like this anyway. They don't need to read it. It's not. You need to read this. But I'm saying, why was this familiar immediately? Well, my dad built a corporation and everything. But so that was familiar to me. But at my level of the sort of society, it makes sense too. But people were going to advertise. Anything in a certain level of. They don't need to read this. A lot of people say like, yeah, like Alan Greenspan and all them, everything. They're into like Ayn Rand, the goddess of the market. They're crazed like Jewish book publishers like selling books like the Ayn Rand, the goddess of the market. That's bullshit. You could take that book to new release for like $50. Like, you're being conned. You're being tricked by that's actually a trick. By the way, I worked in the publishing business. It's like a good trick. During a time when people are resentful because we have sort of a left-wing government with Obama, like you can sell a lot of copies to people who aren't intellectuals called like Ayn Rand, the goddess of the market, with like pictures of like Milton Friedman, Ayn Rand, and like, the head of the central bank on it, and make a lot of money. It's called the publishing business. But they did, by the way, they came up with that too. My great minds in publishing. You had an idea to put out a copy of the Communist Manifesto like during some I don't know, some period, and he had the idea to put like a hard sort of like felt red cover on it, sold like fucking hotcakes to someone. Like for $50 they'll buy the Communist Manifesto because it is like a red felt cover. But that's what like Ayn Rand, the goddess of the market, is. I mean, but wait a minute. Alan Greenspan, is he like Ayn Rand's novels? No. But if you're at the level of banking where you work with the central bank, you live in objective reality anyway. I mean, he knows this. That was the thing about Weinberg. Like, I kept telling her why I couldn't accept what she was saying. So don't you understand? I can't accept this true any concept you say. If, first of all, I suspect it's something derived from reality, but on top of it, like, clashes with my existing picture of reality that was built in the hierarchy of my mental architecture my whole life. And she's like, can I write that down? I said, but you don't recognize that it's the way you think? I mean, you couldn't even function if you don't think that way. Wait a minute, you just stay like in your cloistered world, need that much life experience, and you just make mommy and daddy happy and went from like school to school to school to school to like a weird like institution and like have no idea you have much life experience, right? You actually couldn't function in objective reality. Like you're only good in this environment. You recognize it the way you think, but it's the way people think anyway. I mean, when I read this as a kid, I remember I was like 19. I still remember the novels, but those are only interesting to me as a creative writer. That's why. Those are interesting. It's because she also like knew how to construct a novel. Like it's called a novel of ideas. Like you like Theodore Dreiser, it's called a novel of ideas. So if you want to read another novel of ideas, you'd read like The Fountainhead. That's a different type of novel of ideas. But no, like this is her epistemology, which unfortunately was like necessary to write. But wait, in a lot of ways she wrote it for like people who might be like not at that level of the society. She hung out with Marxists and things too. It's like your narrator. She was. I mean, it's just a matter of like they want to bring certain things to like the people who aren't in the ruling class. Who do you think's a Marxist, by the way? A serious Marxist? It's people on Park Avenue and stuff, into like Marxism and like critical theory, and like so she was hanging out in the ruling class with like other people like talk about ideas like that, right? And she realized like, all right, like they're writing ideas for the working class and such, so like they know about they know about objective reality in terms of class consciousness of their own, but also like they should know like what objective reality looks like, and they don't. It's gonna go into. I mean, it's like, this is actually meant for someone who's not in the ruling class. This is actually how like a person in the ruling class perceives reality, but partly they're in industries like that. Well, I told you about Noam Chomsky's propaganda, the public mind. Like, well, that's true, but like I like listening to him as I listen to my dad, because like if you're in industries like that, everything you're saying is completely true. But because that's objective reality. So someone like Steve, that's impossible. Like you're a fascist intellectual, and you read the Objectivist, and you're like Chomsky, but you also like know Marx. Well, they're all about objective reality. But I mean, it's a whole way of thinking. But things that's how people think anyway. So like, does Chris Matthews need to read the objectivist epistemology? If he's like, oh wow, like that's funny. The right wing guy in the social media thing. I heard some gossip from my intern. Like, turns out like he did a video, put up the objectives. But wait a minute. But I mean, someone at that level like thinks that way anyway. But wait a minute. What's going on in your game is you're doing what Francis Parker called, but it's cool that you're doing it. It's very cool. I dig it. But it's how I figured out what you were doing. Right. When I went to the airport, one of the many times I tried to get the fuck out of town, like, what could be going on? I sat in the airport. I couldn't get a plane ticket. And I said, wait a minute, wait. Let me think like a scientific socialist for a minute. See, a person who lives in objective reality, like, try to think like another person. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on a second. I must be unaware of objective reality in San Francisco right now. I mean, that's the only explanation. What's happening means that I'm unaware of reality. Okay, fine. I'll abandon objective reality for a minute and try to be very, very rational and see if I can understand what's going on. And if I have a question, be technical. But like, I must be unaware of reality and whatever they're doing. But let me just try to be really cautiously rational about everything that's happened and see if I can understand what's going on. Oh my God, right. If they are actually either choosing to or really do perceive in an anti-capitalist way, or they must be doing it intentionally, because that's what I said to the guy on the street when he was like, a lot of strange things in San Francisco, like when your actors that came around. I said, dude, what's happening at that hotel? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. A lot of strange things. What I was saying is that, he labor's in control for its own sake, though. I Is that like a reason why labor would be like, go to your room, like can I use the phone? Like, no, the phone's for customers. Like, I'm gonna be a customer. Like, it's for customers. Like, oh, this is like an alternate reality game where this is what it would be like if labor were in control for its own sake. Like, oh wow, it's like an anti-capitalist experiment. Okay, and I went back into your game, but like that's how an objectivist like got in, discovered he could return through the game and welcome to your game, and then we had a game. And turns out the movie the game's about, I think that's where they referenced a hotel like that, with the crazy eyes, like, what do you think's going on? And I was like, I think you're supposed to go up to the top of that hotel that looks like it's from the movie The Game and jump, but there's no air mat. And she's like, oh, I like your sense of humor, like he's in the game. But I mean, I should tell you that.